Micheal Pope.
Good morning, good afternoon, and good evening to all of you in the virtual neighborhood of Life is a Sacred Journey. I am your host, Micheal Pope here, and I'm excited to always be with you every Friday morning at 8 a.m. I know it's not 8 a.m. in some of the places that we're landing right now, but right here in California, it is now 8 a.m. So I really wanted to touch base this morning and just say, I hope wherever you are, the sun is shining, even if it's not outside, that the sun is shining in your heart, because that's how we have to start the day and that's how we have to go out into the world. It's not easy to stay there. Over the last couple of days, I've had a few people in my life that I reminded me that how it's not easy to stay committed to peace and finding that place in your heart where you can be forgiving and honor honor another human being. So welcome. We honor you here this morning at Life is a Sacred Journey. I want to say happy birthday to Forrest. Forrest will be 1 year old and celebrating his birthday on Sunday with his mother and father. And Felicia is one of the producers of Life is a Sacred Journey, the only producer, along with myself. And so we just want to say happy birthday, Forrest. Um, I don't know. I just found out that a plane ride there is only 3 hours. So you never know. I might just show up. We'll see. Okay. So welcome again to Life is a Sacred Journey. Hit the share button, write in the comments, talk to each other, say good morning, say, how goes it with your soul? You can write that in the chat and begin that conversation as a sidebar to what we're going to be talking about this morning. So first, I want to just talk about a gentleman that was introduced to me by Lance Reynolds, our board president for many, many years, and became a great friend, family friend to myself and my children. And he passed away from a form of dementia that really robbed him of his mobility and ability to exchange in the world. I had the honor of visiting with him once a year when he and his wife would come back from Aptos. And he introduced me to this gentleman, Richard Taylor. Richard Taylor wrote a book called Alzheimer's from the Inside Out. And and continues to be an incredible book for me. I have things underlined in it. Lance gave it to me, so I get to see where he was surprised or whatever. But let me tell you a little bit about Richard Taylor, because I think it will help those of you out there who are caregivers to understand what's going on for the person that you're caring for. Because the more understanding you have about that, the more you're going to be able to also take care of yourself and take care of what's happening to you as the caregiver and the care partner. So Richard Taylor was a psychologist who was diagnosed with Alzheimer's type dementia at the age of 61. And he started writing short essays for his own benefit, trying to better understand what was going on inside of him. He sought out others with dementia, and he began forming online chat rooms, which eventually grew into an international network. I had the honor myself of talking to Dr. Taylor early on after I read this book. We never were able to get him on the podcast because he was so busy out and about. But the international work that he did, and through his writing and communication efforts, he became a champion for individuals with early stage and early onset Alzheimer's disease. He spoke regularly throughout the US to audiences that were challenging, going through the challenges of dementia. The thing that I love the most is that this book was written while he was diagnosed with Alzheimer's. So again, living from the inside out. I want to read something to you from the book, and it says, "From my heart to my MD's ears," so his doctor's ears. What living with what the disease means to me, really means to me, is having to die twice in front of my family. First comes the death of who I am, and second is the death of who I will become. It means having to become an almost helpless observer of the deterioration of my relationships with loved ones. It means not remembering what I said, what I meant, and what you said or meant. I have moved from forgetful to confused to bewildered. I am floating between and within three states, and I don't know why or how or when it is going to change. So I actually am going to read this to my team this morning because I think it's important to understand that a person living with Alzheimer's or other forms of dementia, because there are other forms of dementia. Dementia, again, and at some point we're going to share screen one of these mornings, and I will show you the umbrella that is usually used by many public speakers, Alzheimer's Association, and it says dementia across the umbrella. And if you know what an umbrella looks like, when you open it up, it has all the prongs, the things that hold the umbrella to keep you from getting wet. I don't know what you formally call those. So if anybody knows, write in the chat, what do you formally call the edges of the umbrella? Because I don't know. I just know they're the connecting things that make the little triangles. But somebody write in the chat. I don't know when this will hit somebody who's as curious as I, but write it in the chat if you know. But if you looked at that umbrella, all the spokes that are sticking out, that is the many symptoms that a person experiences or a family sees when somebody is diagnosed with dementia. And you'll see sometimes, you may see it, I've been seeing it more and more in the doctor's reports where it'll say dementia, Alzheimer's type, dementia, cardiovascular stroke, whatever. So it'll say, and then tell you the type that it is. So if you learn anything else from me here at Alzheimer's Services of the East Bay, or Life is a Sacred Journey in this moment, remember that Alzheimer's is just the number one dementia that we see the most in our world because of the fact that people are aging and we're living longer. And anything over the 60 over, and then early onset is what Dr. Taylor was diagnosed with, because it was before the age of 65. So you now understand that there is a difference. And when people say, oh no, my family member doesn't have Alzheimer's, they have dementia, they're still not clear about what form of dementia their loved one is living with. So if you ever hear somebody say that, or you have said that yourself, then call your doctor and find out what form of dementia your loved one is living with, because I'm going to tell you, it makes a difference with the prescriptions. It makes a difference in how you navigate the behaviors that come from this chemical, these things that are happening in your loved one's brain. And then remember what Dr. Richard Taylor, what I just read to you, that this person too is experiencing loss on an ongoing basis. And Dr. Taylor was so pivotal in the lives of a lot of people. And the name of the book, again, is Alzheimer's from the Inside Out, and it's Dr. Richard Taylor. So the last paragraph of this book says, act up, act out, act now. And that is, again, talking about do something that will really move the trajectory for caregivers that are caring for somebody with Alzheimer's or dementia in your community. If there are respite programs find them, support them, get their name, get their address, get their phone number, and make it available to people when you hear that you're a friend, a neighbor, a person you church with, somebody you work with. Let's be our own advocates in the community and share knowledge with others, because there are respite programs. There's a program called In-Home Support Services, where the caregiver can sign up and be reimbursed when they're a caregiver. They also have individuals that they have trained and they can come into the home. So in-home support services. It's a county-run program usually, and almost every single county throughout the United States had some derivative of in-home support services. Find out about those things. Find out about Meals on Wheels. When you're a caregiver, maybe it's difficult to cook a lunch or cook a dinner. One meal that can be substituted by Meals on Wheels, and the fee for that is nominal. If and depending on income, I think you can also get it for low cost to nothing. So again, Meals on Wheels, nationwide program. Another program that's out there is Family Caregiver Alliance. They are an amazing resource. They have, that's the reason when you go to our website, we don't duplicate all that stuff on our website, but we do give homage and lift up these organizations so you can go to their website and get their wonderful fact sheets on caregiving. Get respite. Assisted livings have respite weekends and respite fees where your loved one can go and be cared for safely in a respite situation. It's not saying that you're going to place them, but it's respite for you and respite for them sometimes too. Just as much as the caregiver, care partner needs a break, sometimes the person that you're caring for needs a break from you as well. Once you become the 24-hour caregiver, you're there all the time, and that person needs to get out and be with others. We don't want to increase their dependence when it's not warranted until it is warranted. There will come a time for full dependence on their care partner, caregiver, and family and other people, chosen family, is going to happen. But there is also a time when the person is quite capable of doing things and coming to a respite program and being engaged with others. I just spoke to a caregiver the other day about an administrative issue that we needed to take care of on our end. And that was exactly what he said his dad is getting out of the program. Socialization. He has friends. He comes back. He may not remember everything that happened, but he can share that he went on a walk, that he did chair yoga, that his lunch was good or bad or whatever. And so think about those things. And I know when I'm not married to anyone at this time in my life, but I have people and persons that I love deeply, and I would, help in any way that I can to support them to stay at home if that was their wish to stay at home. But I would understand that, respite is important for both people. So don't think of it as I'm giving up my responsibility to this individual. Think of it as I'm taking care of myself so that I can be responsible to this individual and to myself. Also, if you have chosen family or family that are willing to come and spend a weekend with your loved one, or a couple of hours or 6 hours or a day or overnight, an hour, let them do that. Help your loved one to get used to you not being always present to do everything, so that someone else can come in and really help you. Because what happens when you never allow anyone to help? Of course, people that you trust, all of those things. But when you never allow anyone to come in and support you in the effort, then the person gets used to not having anyone else around. And so therefore, when you need to go, without them or do something, it's really catastrophic for them, and then catastrophic for the people that have to pitch hit while you're gone. So it's think about not just the moment and the in the short term, but think about the long term and the things that you're going to need in order to be a caregiver for the long race. And I really say, get this book, Alzheimer's from the Inside Out, Dr. Richard Taylor, so that you can get a better perspective of how your loved one is feeling. Maybe they don't have the words to tell you, and maybe they're going through some difficulty that they can't find the words because of the form of dementia that they have. But this will give you some insight. It's a heavy read, meaning emotionally, and so prepare yourself for that emotional stuff that's going to come up for you and bubble up for you. But I'm learning that in order for our emotional intelligence to grow and to break open, and as Julian Taranti says, so we can live with an open, broken heart, open to the possibility of change and activity, but also understanding that a broken heart is a broken heart, and that it experiences grief, separation, and pain. But boy, when it breaks open and you allow yourself to forgive yourself, forgive others, and to walk in your truth as you know it, then that to me is an open, broken heart. That's another wonderful book by Julian Taranti, and it's really great for those folks out there who are grieving. I'll find it; it's over there somewhere. And next week, yeah, I actually just put my eye on it, but I won't leave the screen because our time will be up shortly. But I wanted to make sure that you have that book and get that book because I'm sure it's still in print somewhere. So those are the things that I wanted to share with you as caregivers this morning, care partners to people that you love, and also to parents. I was realizing the other day that when we talk about caregiving, care partnering, um, it isn't just about the end of life or when somebody is sick or when somebody has mental health challenges or when somebody is at the point in their life where they have dementia or they're just um, aging in place and they live to be 106 and they're starting to get a little frail or maybe not. I just read about a gentleman that is 106 in our universe and he's doing very, very well and he just started using a cane. So I don't know what that age is. It differs for all of us. But you know, if we live long enough, as I've said many, many times, that we're going to lose some mobility, possibly cognition, and we're going to need support and help. And so we need it at that end. And then when we come into the world, we come into the world with we need it. We need support and help from the very moment we take breath on this side of the life journey. And we need parents who also understand that we need to give the children freedom to learn. We need to not helicopter them in a way that they are so needy for your attention and approval that by the time they get to be 20 something and in college or working, they expect that same sort of relationship from an employer or someone. I have had many, many folks in their 20s come through Alzheimer's Services of the East Bay, who I have employed or been here as volunteers. Lovely, lovely, wonderful people. But because of their rearing, they don't know how to think on their own. And again, I know that being 20 something is the beginning of the thought process of adulthood, but I was 20 something once, and when I see that these folks have not been given the opportunity to make choices without the helicopter syndrome and the syndrome of always applauding, 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 and not really also helping children to live with failure. You got to help them to live with the failure because if you live a long life, you're going to have failures. And it's a shift in thinking from a failure being a negative thing to a failure being the building blocks to something where you are successful. So I have been beginning to look at the connections between these things, and that how we helicopter each other in times of rearing or tutor or mentorship or teaching or parenting or caregiving or care partnering, where we don't give the person an opportunity to live into their own truth, as well as to share their own truth with us before we're navigating them in a way that we want them to go, as opposed to allowing them to do it on their own. Simple, simple stuff. And I've done it. So that's why I'm speaking to it. I've done it. It's not something that I haven't done at some point in my life, either with my own people in my life. But it once you know better, you do better. And so hopefully this will help some people to do better. And I've read, this is not just coming out of the head of Micheal Pope or the heart of Micheal Pope. It's coming out of also things that I have read and things that I have studied. One of the things that is important to me about anything that I believe, any value that I take on as my marching tune to life, I have to research it and to figure out for myself. The research is to gather ideas. I was thinking about this on my drive in this morning, because I'm going to be engaged in a conversation I know later today that's going to not go well. And I'm not preordaining it. I just know, because I just know. And how does one navigate something when the opposing side, and I'm going to have to say it that way, when the opposing side is so stuck in that space, or even if the side that isn't, both sides are opposing because both sides feel something different about the outcome of something, and then you're right in the middle where you want to be the peacemaker, the peace person, and you don't want to share your feeling about what is going on, but then you represent people who have shared their feelings with you, and so you have to figure out a way to keep them safe so that they don't get repercussions. But then the other thing is, you're like the Joan of Arc, man. You're on the at the firing range, or on the pole being burned at the stake, and it's like, how much of that does a person take, or how much of that should a person even bring into their lives when stress is one of the it causes death, gets in the way of the longevity of life. So it's really interesting. And again, if you want to engage in life and you want to be an advocate for things, as Dr. Taylor says, act now, do whatever. So one of the things that I have begun to bring back into my life. It's funny how we live these patterns and these wonderful practices, and then we get busy and get distracted by other things, and we get knocked off of our axis, and you feel it right away. Headaches, pain, bloating, all these things that your body, for me, actually, my body manifests when I'm at a heightened level of stress. Insomnia is my biggest stress factor in my life. I'm one of those people that once I have something on my mind that's perplexing me and upsetting me, and I want to know why, I don't sleep. I sleep in little bits. And I know I look that up to make sure. And the concern I have with that is that if you don't get enough sleep, your cognition gets impaired because your brain doesn't get enough time to have real good shutdown. Because insomnia implies, and what it is for me, is that I never get into a deep sleep, that I'm just on the surface, and the next thing you know, I'm awake. And that's been happening now for quite some time. And so this weekend, I have decided to take some time away and get back to my mindfulness living after tonight. And I'm going to disappear for the weekend. So I'm sorry for anybody that tries to reach out to me. I am definitely going to get back, and I got to go somewhere, the forest, the ocean, somewhere, and get back into this space of mindful living. So let me share that with you before we leave you for this morning. It's my pondering. Um, I'm at the stage of my life, and many of you know how old I am. That I realize that nothing is guaranteed. As I told you, I have a cousin, wasn't even 20 years old, that recently was murdered. That 20 years old. I'm 40 something years older than that. So that means that I get that this is a gift, that today is a gift, tomorrow, if it happens, is a gift. And that mindfulness, mindful living is an opportunity to give your body this a treat so that it can overcome and live into and beyond the stressors, the loss, the grief, the pain, the pain one inflicts upon themselves, but also the pain that is inflicted on you by others. So we want to create without claiming. We want to create without claiming. I'm trying to create without claiming anything in my life. I don't want to be responsible for the fact that somebody says, well, it was done by Micheal Pope, meaning, and because people will give you accolades for everything that you do, but when it gets in your head and you claim it as your identity, your only identity, that's not mindful living. Mindful living says, create it, live into it, love that other people are benefiting from what you're creating, but then you move on. You move on. Don't claim it, because then it becomes something that you have to take care of. That piece of your ego then becomes something that you have to take care of. And when you have to take care of it, that means you have to nurture it to make it bigger, because it needs more things in order to feel successful and happy. The other, again, doing without taking credit. It's hard. I've been in that space from time to time. And definitely when I was younger, I wanted to take credit for everything, you know. And now, the thing I'm trying to overcome is, how do I overcome when I know that I've done something and then somebody else takes credit for it? How do I let it go and just know that I did it, let them take credit for it, because at the end of the day, it doesn't matter. So that's the one mindful thing that I'm trying to live into and find the energy to understand that it doesn't matter, because it happens to me quite a bit in some of the circles that I'm in. Guiding without interfering. Oh man, this was the biggest lesson of my life 25 years ago. How does one guide without interfering in a person's life, particularly if you love them? And this became something that was very evident to me maybe more than 25 years ago in being a parent, that I was a guide. I was not someone that had to demand love, demand respect. I had to be someone who earned it, just like the expectation that I had for them to learn to have respect for other people, but yet that people earned it for their lives. So they weren't just out there willy-nilly giving people everything in them for them to be hurt. But I had to guide without telling. I had to guide without interfering. Now, I wasn't always successful. So let me receive that. I wasn't always successful. I failed a million trillion times. But guiding without interfering means it goes right back to what that helicopter thing. Um, we can't break the spirit of other people, whether they be your children or the people that you work with. Um, and to be a good leader, to learn how to guide and let people learn from their stuff and learn with doing. That's why these immersion trips and immersion learning is so successful, is because people guide you through an entire experience and you become changed with it because you embrace it in an immersion kind of way. The last, this is primal virtue. And again, this was from Lau. I love it. I love it. Creating without claiming, doing without taking credit, guiding without interfering. This is a primal value. So my last uh, mindful thing that I want to share with you this morning, and this is was my mindful thought for the month of January. And so I'm going to share it with you. So take a deep breath in, my friends. Take a deep breath in right now. Close your eyes and take a deep breath in and blow out. Breathe in and hold that. You should feel it like in your gut when you breathe in. Just hold it for a minute, not to hurt, just a little tight, and then blow out. Last time. Breathe in and blow out. You do that 3 times and do it maybe every 3 hours or so in your life, and stop and breathe. Take a deep breath in, center, 3 breaths, takes 1 minute of your life, and it helps to get rid of the cobwebs and help you to refocus. And when you do it, I want you to think about this, that mindful living was discovered because our life was becoming so busy and we were whirling out of ourselves. Mindful meditation and living was discovered to foster the ability to inhibit those very quick emotional impulses. Every person, every philosopher, Dick Gregory, the Dalai Lama, all of these people always say, control your emotional impulses. Now, that big buzzword is emotional intelligence. But mindfulness says that you are in control of those emotional impulses. Let me tell you, friends, I fail at it almost almost daily. But I'm thinking about it and I know when it's happening. And so I'm learning to not be triggered and to be in control of my emotional impulses, not to the control of Dr. Spock, not that, but where it is, I need to stop it from going boom, where I'm not thinking about my contribution to the situation, and that I'm not being mindful where I flip it and I bring peace into the situation. Not only peace from within, but peace into the situation. So we've come to the end of our time and our pondering. I want to thank you for joining us for Life is a Sacred Journey. You are an important part of our mission here. Without you, we would not be able to do this. We've been thinking about going once a month or every 2 weeks and all of that. So I'm going to put that out to you. We just want to know what you want, and should we go to twice a month, once a month, or are you really benefiting for us showing up once a week? We will continue to do this, but we need to know. We're kind of looking at everything and revisiting the platform and revisiting, where we are in this time and 2024, and what are the next steps, and what do we do, and how do we do it, and all of those things. So I want to thank you for joining Life is a Sacred Journey. Hit the share button, subscribe, follow whatever platform you're finding us, and know that we are excited about you being with us. So one of the favorite things that TikTok and Instagram and all of you love are the ifs. And the ifs come from a book by Evelyn McFarlane and James Saywell, and it's If, Questions for the Game of Life. We only have time for one this morning, but I'll be happy to share it with you. Okay, I love this question. If you were to have your entire wardrobe designed for you by a single clothing designer for the rest of your life, who would you select? Hands down, she has passed away, but Edith Head. Edith Head for me, oh, please. Some of those outfits that she, for some of the movies, Sabrina, just, oh my gosh, these outfits were absolutely magnificent. She was a costume designer. She also, found costumes for movies and things. And so Edith Head, if she were alive, and in this modern day, I think I love, trying to think who I love the most. Armani. I still love Armani designs. I love their suits and the jackets. The Chanel jacket, I love Chanel. It's hard to pick one. But if you were to have your entire wardrobe designed for you by a single clothing designer for the rest of your life, who would you select? Man, for me, at this time, it would be Armani. So write in the chat, share with somebody else, have fun with it. As we close this Friday on Life is a Sacred Journey, we want to thank you for joining us every Friday morning at 8 a.m. Please continue to reach out to us and answer some of the questions that we pose to you, because we are here for you. Also, we want you to know that if you are a person out there, I just learned, excuse me, the suicide hotline. I was watching YouTube and 988 came up, and they have a beautiful ad where they're saying it's not just about suicide, but it's about loneliness, grief, overcoming challenges where you just feel like life is yucky. Pick up the phone, text, call, and begin a conversation with someone at 988, which is a lifeline to those of us that live with depression and anxiety. It's important to know that you're not alone. 988. The other number, here it is. I kept it close by, is the Youth Crisis Line. Last night, I had the opportunity and couldn't take advantage of it to join the Youth Crisis Group, California Youth Crisis Group, where they were going out and doing the point in time count. It's a thing that happens every year in every county throughout the state of California. And I wasn't able to go with my daughter to do that. She was doing it in Sacramento. But I want to invite all of you to find out annually or whenever it happens, and I'll try to get the dates and share it here, and get engaged in this form of finding out so we can support our unsheltered citizens, our citizens, our siblings, our family members who are unsheltered. And I don't mean that they are your biological, I mean they are a part of the family of humanity. And I know there are people out there who roll their eyes when I say these things, but guess what? I don't care. The California Youth Crisis Line, 24/7 crisis counseling, 1-800-843-5200. Call, text, chat, 1-800-843-5200. Get the help that you need 24/7, okay? All right, my friends, have a wonderful weekend in the neighborhood. I think the rain has stopped here in California for a minute. Go out and live your mindful life. And if I see you and I'm out and about on the weekend, please don't hesitate to say hi. But I will be getting off this roller coaster of stress for at least 48 hours this weekend. God bless you. Bless you, bless you. Have a wonderful, wonderful weekend. Go out and hug a tree, pet a cat, pet a dog, hug yourself, love yourself, and yeah, love yourself. Take a moment. Actually, I'm going to help you do that right now. Take a moment and love yourself. Understand that you've made it through so many things in life, and you are an example of a survivor of this journey, this sacred journey that we call life. All right, you guys. Peace.